Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on how to get people to show up at your virtual events. I see that a lot of people are joining, which is great for an event on this topic. Otherwise, it would have been a bit awkward. So the first question I have for you, so that we give the other participants a bit more time to join, is where are you from? So if you can tell me in the chat here where you are joining us from, that would be awesome, and that will give us some time for the other people to join. Lake Lanier, Portland, Oregon, amazing. Seattle, Berkeley, California, Austin, Texas, amazing. Lots of Americans in the room. That's awesome. India, welcome India. Ontario, Ottawa, Ontario, that's awesome. California, Ottawa, really cool. All right. What time is it in Bangalore? Good question. All right, so let's get this party started. So my name is Thomas Paris. I am the Director of Marketing at Hoppier. And you see two flags here, and you might hear a small French accent. That's because I was born in Belgium, but I moved here with my wife, moved here in Canada, in Montreal, to be precise, 1 year ago. And I have good news. Things have started to open up in Montreal. So, I haven't been able to go to restaurants or to bars since October 1st. So I'm I'm really happy that things are starting to open up, and I will get to experience what this amazing country has to offer. And I see that a lot of people are in the US, and I really want to go there as well. I hear so many great things. So I can't wait to be able to visit your beautiful country, my beloved Americans. A few things. Wow, one is from Paris. Well, that's my last name, but I'm from Belgium. A few things, as you know, I will not share this recording to the people who do not show up. All right, so that's gonna be just for you. But you don't have to take notes or anything. Don't worry, you'll get the recording at the end. If you want to engage with me, or you want to ask questions, or you want to ask questions to fellow attendees, go ahead, use the chat. I want this to be fun, to be interactive. By the way, I have a glass of water, but because I need to have clear thoughts. But if you guys want, to take a drink, a beer, a wine. If it's a beer, it has to be a Belgian beer, otherwise it's not allowed. Yeah, so make yourself at ease, and let's make this fun and interactive. So be also on the lookout for polls, and stay until the end, because I will have a small gift for, again, only the people who showed up. So 3 things that we'll cover today. Only la chouffe. Somebody knows it's beer. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll cover 3 things during this webinar. The basics, create excitement before, and the pre-event attendee journey. All right. To start with the basics, but first I have a small poll for you. I want to know, why do you attend virtual events? So if you go to the poll section right now, there is a poll, and you can answer there. I think this is beautiful, and I'm gonna tell you, 70, okay, 69% to learn. All right, Oh, 70. That's 71 would be even better. And I'm going to tell you why. Because this is the exact data that I have. So you're the perfect sample of event planners, because actually from a survey that Bizabo did this year, a few months ago, well, they found out that actually people are joining virtual events to mainly learn. And that's the big difference if you compare in-person events to virtual events, is that the main reason why people want to sign up and to show up at those online events is not that much to have fun or to meet other people, even though it's a really, really nice to have. It's not that they don't want that. It's just that the main reason why they're joining is to learn something. So, and I did a poll on LinkedIn a few days ago, and I get the same exact data, and here it was confirmed. So that's actually something that's very important to understand. It doesn't mean that incentives and virtual experiences are not important. It just means that you need to focus your efforts into content, and content is speakers having great slides, and just explaining the topic that is discussed in a way that is engaging and interactive. So the other thing that I wanted to understand is, why do people ghost virtual events? Well, again, here it's kind of logical. It's the main reasons are because they are mostly free. So I'm talking here not that much about virtual conferences, because in that case, indeed, some of them are free, but most of them are paid events. So it's much more likely that if you pay for something that you're going to show up. But let's face it, we are all event planners here. It's quite standard that your virtual events are free. Okay, and so the commitment on the attendee side becomes then much lower. So it is also during business hours. It means that you sign up today for an event, for an online event that is happening in 2 or 3 weeks. So and then you know that you can attend that today, but what's going to happen at work in 2 or 3 weeks is unclear. So you might have other work priorities. Your boss might ask you to do something, and even if you don't show up, you know that you can have access to the event recording after it took place. So there is no clear reason to actually show up, and that's linking back to the fact that people want to show up because they want to learn something. So the fact that you give access to your recording to everyone might be a big reason why people don't really care about being live at your virtual events. And the other thing is, there might not be a clear promise, and I will explain what I mean by that. But it's, what is your value proposition? Why should I attend? And it's a mix of different things, but I will cover that a bit later. So let's get a few fundamentals straight here. You all know that, but it's a good reminder that you need to have those 5 things really nailed if you want to expect a great attendance rate: date and time, goal and KPIs, lead time, great title, and great promise. So obviously there are best practices. If you do a brunch and learn, it's probably better to do it before lunchtime. If it's a virtual happy hour, well, it's better to do it at maybe 3, 4, 5 p.m. Still, if it's B2B virtual events during business hour. But there are 2 things that will help you clarify those 5 fundamentals. It's your audience and your event type, okay? But about your audience, what is an audience? It's actually the sum of your persona, so your event persona, and where that persona is in your conversion funnel, okay? So, or in your company's life cycle. And where you are, or what is the goal of your event in that conversion journey will also impact what event type you should actually choose. And so to make this a bit more clear, I have a table here that I have designed that will help you define, okay, based on my event goal, which is obviously linked to my company's goal, what should my virtual event type be? And so the audience and your event type will define so many things. So if you want to have more brand or awareness, for example, you need to understand that, well, the best event type for that will be a large virtual conference, right? But for this specific, if we take this specific webinar, my main goal was to get people who don't know about Hoppier to that they know about us, and to build our own audience and to generate some top of funnel leads. So I knew that a webinar would be a good event type. Now that defines the lead type, the lead time. Sorry, so it's probably like 2 or 3 weeks before the webinar takes place that people have to start signing up. If it's a virtual conference, it should be much longer. It can be like 3 to 6 months. And then that will also help me decide what should be the title or the key subject of my virtual event, because what is the goal of today's webinar is to move you from one state to the other. And the goal is to educate you on a subject that excites you and obviously where I hope you can have an impact on, so that we can move you from one stage to the next. So that's how you define your audience and your event type, which have an impact on your virtual event fundamentals. Now, to go back to what the title of your virtual event should be, I've applied a strong process for this one, which is really about understanding your audience. All right, and it's linked to what I just explained, but you can't guess when it comes to what's top of mind for your audience right now. You have to go on the field and ask, what did I do? I did customer interviews. I launched a customer survey to understand what were the main challenges right now. I asked my customer support team to ask what are the most frequently asked questions from our clients right now. What do they struggle with? I went to my sales team and asked the same questions. Hey, during your sales goals, what comes up? What are the challenges? I've also joined some Slack communities. So that's more typical to the event space, I would say. But in the event space, you have a lot of Slack communities, and it's super easy to just go there and understand what are the main conversations, what do people talk about, to get insights from this conversation and understand what should I talk about during my webinar or during my virtual event. And the last thing I did is I found a great report from PathFactory that had really clear data on those engagement stats. And when I looked at the average attendance rate going from 10 to 30%, I was like, man, that sucks, because you put so much effort into creating an awesome virtual experience, and then 70% of these people don't show up. And when I tried to find great content on this, I didn't find much. So that was clear to my mind that this was going to be an exciting topic. And you, everyone here, is the proof that I was right. So before we go to create excitement, I would love to know, how do you actually drive virtual attendance? What are the tools, what are the tactics that you use that have had a nice impact on your attendance rate? you can just go into the chat. $50 lunch incentive. You can go to the chat and give your ideas there. If you have any cool tactics that you want to share with everyone. Would you be persuaded if you knew your attendance affected the size of donation to cause support? Coffee card. Would you be persuaded if you knew your attendance affected the size of a donation to a cause? Oh, yes. Really nice. So having a cause or making sure that the more people join your event, the more you donate to a cause. I love that. Really great one. Prizes, swag. Knowing that the webinar won't be recorded. For sure. Awesome. Thank you so much. I love the Jamie's idea on linking your attendance rate to how much you're going to donate. That's a nice incentive for people to join. All right. Trigger that FOMO. Yeah, for sure, Ashley. There is a simple yet really powerful framework that I use for everything that I do, honestly, which is the fog behavior model. And it's simple and complicated in the sense that in its simplest form, it tells you that anyone will do any action as long as the motivation of doing that action is higher than the friction of performing it. Okay, that's pretty obvious. The tricky part is understanding, okay, but what are the key factors that move the person's motivation up or move the frictions to achieve that action down, right? That's the tricky part. And how can I apply that to a PreEvent strategy? That's what we are going to talk about, obviously. And I'm not going to explain the 6 principles of persuasion. That's actually a very powerful model coming from a very well-known psychologist called Cialdini that explain that there are 6 main factors that drive human behavior. And those 6 factors you can apply to any sort of online behavior influence, whether it's for people, if you want to get people to sign up for your website or to buy stuff online, whatever it is, you always need to understand at each stage, okay, how can I motivate somebody to achieve that action, and what are the frictions that I can decrease so that the sum of the two can be positive. We'll start with reciprocity. So, and that's where I'm going to talk about the event promise. What is reciprocity? It means that if somebody does something nice to you, and even if that person doesn't ask anything in return, there is like a natural human behavior of wanting to give back. And so there are a lot of things that are part of the event promise or the event value proposition. Not only the content, it can be gifts and incentives, virtual experiences, the handouts that you will give during that event, the event recording, if you're going to make sure that there is room to meet other people during the event. You can have, if you have something to offer, you can offer discounts. So all these things are great, but the tricky thing is you need, and that's where people get it wrong often, is like having an attendee flow where you actually communicate all these great benefits pre-event. So having a very smart pre-event attendee journey where people understand how much time and effort and how much value that they will get from your event experience, so that they have this natural human behavior of saying, okay, you know what, they worked so hard on this, I might as well give what I have to give, which is my time, and show up. And that's where the amazing platform Hoppier comes into the game. So what is Hoppier? Hoppier is a very powerful platform for event planners that will help them drive attendance and engagement during their virtual events by providing each attendee with their own personal digital Visa card on which there is an allowance that will allow them to buy anything from coffee, social hour drinks, breakfast, food, even gifts, which is a great way if you want to extend the lifetime of your event and offer a gift for people who attend it. That's a really powerful way to do that. So having this kind of incentives for your event can have a tremendous impact on making sure people show up if you communicate that clearly before your event. And all clients have seen amazing impacts on their attendance rates by benefiting from this platform. And so it's super easy to use for both the event planners. You can brand the card. You can decide where people will buy from. This is actually what the attendees will see. So you have the branded card. You have how much money you have on the card. You can even add your own personal credit card if you want. Like for now, you have $10. If you want to buy a lunch that costs $15, you can add your personal card, and so $10 will be charged on the Hoppier card, and $5 will be charged on your personal card. And so you have on the right side all the vendors that are listed there, and it even works on any local restaurant. So that's what people love, is that you don't have to use one of these food apps if you'd like. You can, for example, if you want to physically go to a local restaurant and buy with the allowance provided by Hoppier, you can add it to your Apple Pay or Google Pay and use that card to buy food at this local store. So really powerful way to drive engagement at every stage of the event journey. Now, there are lots of virtual experiences, right? That's where we can help, set up some of these, such as a virtual happy hour, a brunch and learn, or lunch, or B1 chocolate tasting. But you have so many more: live DJ, cooking class, scavenger hunts, great games. So all these things obviously happen during the event, but making sure that you communicate about those great experiences pre-event can have a nice impact. So this is a non-exhaustive list. If you search for virtual event ideas, you'll find lots of great content and great games and experiences that can incentivize people to show up at your virtual events. So that's something that's really interesting. It's another psychological trigger called commitment. What does it mean? It means that if you get somebody to do something small, you're much more likely to get them to do something bigger. Again, let's apply that to website conversions, for example. And your main call to action is book a call with our sales team. That's a big ask. And so you can have micro commitment, which is like chat, download this ebook, whatever content pieces you have. And well, if people pre-engage, they are much more likely to book a call. All right. So, and that's part of the human psychology of wanting to be consistent, because if we engage with a company, we are much more likely to actually go further. So how do you apply that to a pre-event journey? Well, one thing you can do is open your event a few hours or a few days before it takes place to get people to do a few small things. Complete your profile, for example. Join our event community and try to get people to meet other attendees before the event. There are event platforms that get really smart in terms of understanding, hey, who do you want to meet? And we'll have an algorithm that will help you meet people that you actually want to talk to. And there is another thing that I wanted to do for this event, but I couldn't, which is sending a calendar invite and getting people to accept it. The reason why I didn't do it, it's because with Demio, you have a unique link. So each one of you has a unique link. So usually I would say it's better if you have a common link, like if you run an event, we do that, Sender. If you have an event on Zoom, for example, that's great because you have the same link for everyone. So that's really powerful, I would say, if you want to make sure people add your event into the calendar. That's, I would say, the most powerful thing that you can do. If you can get them to do that, then you're much more likely for people to attend. But it's part of the pre-commitment or micro-commitment strategy of psychological trigger. You can gamify it. That was a Sendoso virtual event. And so they opened up the platform a few days before it took place. And for all these micro commitments, you would get points. So if you would go to one of the sponsors' booth, for example, if you complete your profile, so on the virtual event platform, they have these banner ads, and very smart move. When you would click on some of the ads, a code would then appear, and or it's either code or it was blank. So you would, of course, then view those ads. Very smart move. And for some of these ads, there was a code that you would have to then insert here on that Gamify board, and then of course these points would turn into gifts, and obviously you can offer these gifts with a nice Hoppier branded card. Product placement here. One of the last psychological triggers that I will cover during this webinar is liking. And again, it sounds obvious. It's like you are much more likely to trust somebody that you like or that you can relate to. All right, so that's very important in terms of if you run a company, if you host events, you need to show who's behind all these great initiatives. And so this is what I did. I hope that you get it. I know that some people did not get that cool picture I took yesterday, but most of you guys did it. But I wanted to show you who's behind this event and trying to get you to understand, or to trying to get you to kind of relate to me, and like if the more you'll feel empathetic about the team and about the people behind an event, the more you start to relate to them, and the more you will feel incentivized to actually offer your time and show up for your virtual events. So other things like write like you talk, use humor, make them smile, leverage on team's network. That's interesting because, again, in terms of the liking principle, the people who will join through your team members, they probably like those team members or trust them, or at least they're part of their network. And so the people coming from your team's invites will be more likely to show up at your virtual events. And so that's also part of the added value of creating that tribe, that community, not only before your event but between each event. I think that's something that you should always try to do, is like those events, when it's over, you need to have really good post-engagement process. And the best way to do that is having some sort of online community, so a Slack community for your company, where people can keep learning and keep engaging with each other. The last the last psychological trigger is authority. And it's, again, I talk a lot about trust, but what drives you to do anything is because you trust, or we somebody ask you to do anything, like buying something or joining an event, and you actually do that. It's because you trust the other party that they will provide value for you. So you trust if you like them, and you trust if you see them as authority figures. So there are two things. Like, it's either you are that authority figure yourself and you are the one hosting the event. Great. That's why sharing content on social media is so key, so that people start to see you as an expert in your field. And when you launch a new initiative, it's going to be easier for you to get them to engage. If you're not, you can leverage your speaker's authorities. So that's a great example from a Gong event. Gong is a sales tool, and they invited former FBI agent Chris Voss, that used to manage the negotiation unit. So obviously, negotiation skills in sales are so important. So that's really a great way to use the authority figure of somebody else to get people excited about your events. And so these you can also create content with those partners, those speakers, to even further leverage that and create pre-excitement before the event happens. Again, having a community will also help, so that people see you as that authority figure. If you manage that community, it can really have an impact on the fact that people will see you as an expert in that field. And so that's why you also need to have a track record of running great events, is because if you do once a great event, then people will, of course, be much more likely to come back, because, again, they see you as an expert. All right, so the next question before we move on to the next and the last part of this presentation is, what tactics that you've learned today what tactics that you've learned today were interesting to you, and that you will implement in the coming weeks or months? Share that with me in the chat. I want to know. Donate to a cause. Yeah. Gift cards, email team beforehand. Love it. Micro commitment. Yeah. Micro commitment, gift cards, gamify, and micro commitment. Making lead up emails some more personal, use more emojis. Yeah. Use emojis, use GIFs, use teaser videos. That's all awesome. Rethinking and pricing the event promise. Absolutely. Heads up on the team. Using social guilt of shorting participants in breakout rooms was a great idea from the chat. Yeah. I haven't seen that, actually. Really cool. All right. Awesome. Glad that you have learned some great tactics from, hopefully, some from me, but I see that you've learned from each other, which is amazing. So the last part is the attendee journey. Now, I wanted to take this example of the Segment user conference. Segment is a customer data platform. And one thing that I think they did very well is organizing the entire content strategy based on two attendee goals. One was build, the other one was grow. So build mean, okay, you don't have customer data tech software in place. Well, to get started, here are all all the content, all the speakers, all the speaking gigs that will talk about build. And you can see that the speakers have either a blue color below the picture or green one. And so that's because they either organize between build and grow. And so for each day, you have two agendas. One was for the build, one was for the grow. And so in terms of pre-event attendee journey, you can really, you can, I would say, create more personalized attendee journeys based on what the attendees' goals were. All right, so here it's more about content, and so if you have different topics, you can communicate about new exciting speakers based again on what the goal of that attendee was. If you have gifts, if you have other types of content that you want to give access to during the event, after the event, or before the event, again, all this content strategy can be customized based on the attendees' goals. I think that's a very smart move, and if you can also identify that people are really mainly there to learn or to meet people, and that they don't really actually care that much about learning, but they want to show up because they want to meet other people in their space, then again, you can use those data triggers to send more personalized pre-event content that will get them excited based on the goal that they had. And so in terms of the pre-event journey, because this is a 35 minutes webinar, I cannot go and explain to you what the attendee journey looks like for a huge online conference. It's just too much. There are too many flows to create, and it's something that I want to do. But for the sake of time, I wanted to pick the event type webinar because I've actually applied this for this specific webinar. So, and you can understand what kind of psychological triggers I've used for each attendee step. So for the confirmation email, play on the liking. So if you are the only one who's behind this event, and show yourself. If you have an entire team, show your team and have a nice picture of your entire team smiling, having good vibes, and sharing how excited they are about what they just signed up. Teaser video. So again, if you have other speakers, if you have other partners, involve them in that teasing content. And in that specifically teaser video, what you want to focus on is the learning bit. Going back to the beginning, people are attending virtual events because they want to learn something. So be short, be clear on the 3 key learnings that they will get out of that virtual event. And if you have speakers, that's a great way to involve them and use that authority psychological trigger. And then don't only focus on the learning, but also explain if you have other kinds of benefits, as we saw, incentives, games, handouts, whatever incentives or experiences that you want to plan. That's where you also want to explain to them to play on that reciprocity bit. The next one can be invite a colleague. So that's playing on that commitment, so pre-commitment of the event and social proof. It's like when somebody joins your event, you usually know the job title. So you can have a smart flow where based on the job title, you can say the subject line could be, here is why this webinar could be super interesting for your CMO, for example, or whatever that person or what team that person belongs to. You can incentivize that person to invite their team manager, for example, and then you can have key talking points or key benefits of that event that are appealing to that head of marketing or that head of sales or whatever the team manager is. The next one is the question, again, pre-engagement. That's what I did as well. Simple, very, very simple question that I asked all of you, and thank you so much, because it's great for two reasons. It's great for me to collect insights, to understand what are your expectations, because I asked, hey, what do you expect from this virtual event? So that was great. And the other thing is, my guess is it made you part of it, right? Once you reply to this email, you're like, okay, now I shared what I expect. I'm a part of this journey, and I'm much more likely to actually show up. A few days before, I would say 2 days before, you remind people why you should attend, and then you play again on what they will learn from this and all the different experiences that they will get, applied by showing who you are, showing your team, and that will have a nice effect. You can accompany that. You can see that there is a blue line. So that was email. For social media, community content, you have to accompany this email flow with partner or speaker announcements, or announcements about virtual experiences or the kinds of incentives. If you have giveaway prizes, you have to create excitement in that other channel. If you have a community for your event, that's even better. But those two flows with those types of content, you can see that we can link everything that we've learned today with the fact that we are playing on two psychological frameworks, being one, Cialdini's 6 principles of persuasion, and then you can have an email strategy that plays on those psychological triggers to boost motivation. And then the last emails, which probably happen a few days before the event takes place, should be about decreasing the friction. So I decided not to focus on that for this webinar, but that's basically all the technical details of your event. So how will you join? If it's a big online event, you need to have a lot of educational content that will explain everything that they can do the day of the event. So that's when you the few days before the event, that's really when you focus on more the friction part, and before that you focus on the motivation part. So if you apply this learning well, you will have an action that's hopefully positive, because the motivation of attending your event will be much higher than the friction. I will also send copy for each email. So I know it's not always easy to write, to actually know what the content should be for these emails. So I will actually, tomorrow, I will send you the copy and templates for each one of these emails. So I promised you that I would give a gift for everyone who showed up. And I'm actually amazed, because most people are still here. And that's also something I've seen. And it's probably another webinar is like the drop-off sometimes for these webinars, these virtual events can be very terrifying. So I'm super happy that everybody is still here, because a few reasons. One, we will give $10, obviously, on a beautifully branded virtual Hoppier card that you will be able to use to buy some snacks, some coffee, tea, whatever makes you happy, makes us happy. So tomorrow you will get an email from us with $10 on that Hoppier card. You will get the recording, and you will get an amazing template with copy of these emails. And one other thing before I can answer some questions is I'm going to share now a call to action. If you book a call with our team, if you click on this link and you book a call with our team before June 10th, that's in 7 days, we will add $10 to that Hoppier card. So we will be able to share a nice lunch while we talk about your event strategy and how we can help boost attendance and engagement. So thank you very much for attending, showing up, and staying. I hope it was interesting. I had fun. It was really cool. And if you ladies and guys have any questions, I will do my best to answer them. If not, I wish you an amazing rest of your day.